Welcome to Truth Be Told. My name is Max. I'm here with Dwight, and we're just so excited that you're here with us, and we welcome you on this journey together with us as we go along with Jesus. And today we're talking about being still. What does that mean? And, we have a verse up here. It says, "Be still and know that I am God." We have another translation here that I'm just going to read because it just sheds a different light on it. And sometimes reading different translations just brings different thoughts in and different perspectives. So this one says, "Stop striving and know that I am God." So there's a lot to unpack there. So Dwight, we're just going to kind of back and forth unpack that.
Yeah, being still. And that on the other side is just cease from striving and know, that I'm God. And so David is writing, in the midst of, David faced so many battles in his life, right from a child on. And in the beginning, he's a shepherd boy, and so these would have come out of those times when he was a shepherd.
Real experience.
Real experience. And, where he's out, first he's out there and, he talks about killing a lion, killing a bear, and so on. And all of the adversity he was facing. And even when he starts to come into power, Saul is soon to be his father-in-law, but he's on the throne. And when Samuel is told to go and anoint another king, when he's told to do that, he goes out to Jesse, who is David's father, and he says, I've been sent by God to anoint the next king. And in the midst of that journey, so the father calls in all of the other sons, and they go through, and first when Samuel sees one of them come in, he goes, "Oh, wow, this is the guy." And God goes, "No, man looks on the outward appearance, but God looks on the heart." And so he goes through them one after another, and he hears God giving a resounding, no, not this one, not this one, not this one. He finally gets to the last one, and he says to Jesse, "Do you have another son?" And we can almost imagine Jesse going, "Yep." He's the runt. He's the runt of the litter, and he's out with the sheep. He's just a shepherd boy. And think about that. When we're struggling, he says cease from striving. But when we're struggling, with our insecurities and with the battles that we're in and where we are, and when everybody else sees a shepherd boy, God saw a king. And David was this small runt of the litter, but he's been out there. And what's God doing? What is God doing in the midst of the sheep? Well, he's teaching him how to shepherd, how to look after others, but on top of that, how to protect them. And but he's building. This whole thing where God's the builder, and David is, he's out there as a shepherd. And so finally they call him in. He's anointed as king. He goes, and we all know the story of David and Goliath and the throwing of the stone. So David knows what this whole struggling, right? Cease from striving, and can I do this in my own strength? Can I do this in my own power? Can I do this in my own might? Can I do this in my own ability? And then David says, cease from striving, or be still and know that I am God. And
that brings the thoughts, and know that I am God. So day to day, it's kind of like I know what I want, and I know where I want to go. I know the things that need to be done, but sometimes in business, at least speaking from my life, there's things that I can do. I could force through. I could, and sometimes my hands are tied. I have zero way to control it. And generally that's where we kind of, I think that's where, if we get to that place where it's out of our control, I think God can use that as an example to show what he can do through that if we if we're still, and if we cease from striving. I think a lot of the times we take that in our own strength, and we don't cease from striving. We strive through that, and we struggle through that, or we stress about it, because I know I do. I'm generally not an anxious person, but my highest points of anxiety happen when I'm not thinking and being still. I'm simply trying to figure it out on my own, in my own strength, instead of, listening to where he's at and what he has to do for us.
Does that not line up with faith?
Thanks.
Faith is in believing.
100%.
And knowing that
So-
God.
Yeah.
God
Definitely.
Is there. God is where He needs to be, and where we need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm not sure on the Hebrew word on that "no" there. In the Newer Testament, the word "no" can often be this word "genesco," and that doesn't mean a lot to people, but it's to know by experience. And so how do we know God? We know Him by experience, and that faith, that trusting in Him. When I go, okay, yeah, I know who God is.
Yeah.
And so often David's talking, God is my refuge.
Yeah.
And so how do we experience that? In the midst of what I'm going through, God is my refuge, God is my strength, God is my ever-present help in time of need. And knowing Him, knowing that, and knowing that experientially, right? And once you start trusting God, you're in the midst of that, you're in the midst of the battle. I'm sure that when David was walking out before Goliath, or when he was with the lion or with the lamb, with the lion or the bear, that he was looking at that and he was saying, yeah, I don't know about this. I don't. But he says, God, I'll trust you. Yeah. And that's really where faith is. Faith isn't saying, I know 100% that God's going to do it, but I know that I can trust God.
Yeah. Through it.
And whatever He's going to do in me, and whatever He's going to do through me. And it's often those battles that we go through where we really learn how to trust God. We begin to find the character of God, and we begin to find, and David, I remember in a real battle in my life where I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, I was going through stuff, and I began to read through the Psalms and just psalm after psalm, and some nights I didn't sleep at all. And as I read those Psalms, I thought, God's an ever-present help in time of need. And at first I thought, well, God, you were that to David. Why aren't you that to me? You're my refuge. You're my fortress. You're my strength. And he goes on and on with that. But that's experiential. Like it begins here, but it works through. As the more that you know God, the more that you begin to know Him, and the more that you trust Him, and you're saying, yeah, God, and then you come back to that. I'm at the place in life now where I look back. It's that 2020, and one of my great uncles had this expression, and he used to say, it's too bad that our front sight isn't as good as our hindsight. And but I'm at the place in life now where I'm looking back. And as I look back, I see how God met me in the middle of that, and God ministered in the middle of that. All of the things that God was in that doing. And now I go, when I get into that position, I look at the character of God and I say, God, this is who you are. And because I know that this is who you are, I trust you. I have faith in you that it may not turn out exactly the way that I see it or the way that I want, but I trust you in the fact that you're going to look after me. God, you're going to
supply all my needs.
And He's going to glorify Himself in the midst of it, because He wants us telling His story, right?
Yeah.
And
it's not for our glory.
Yeah,
but for His.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the that just rings in my head now. It's maybe something that I'll probably hopefully remember. But God won't necessarily do it. You said this.
Yes.
God necessarily won't necessarily do it, but He'll walk with us through it.
Yeah.
And we can trust Him through it.
Yeah.
And that's that's faith, you know, faith in him, and knowing that it's not going to be just done for us, but we can walk together through things, through life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we all struggle with.
Yeah, going back to your comment, right? That journey. He said, "I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. Lo, I'm with you always, even to the end of the earth." And you know that promise of him, from him. And as we begin to really know him and trust him and say, God, you said in the midst of this that you're not going to leave me. You're not going to forsake me.
And getting to know him, just, you know, how do we get to know anybody? We just have to spend time with him.
Being still.
Being still, exactly. Be still. I mean, just be with him, be quiet, and listen to what he has to say.
Yeah, I remember when I went to Wembley and things weren't going according to my plan. And I'm going, God, this is a big mistake. And he had awakened me different nights as he was calling me to go there. And so I knew, and he was inviting me to be with him to join him and building his church. And nothing was going according to my plan. And I remember sitting and just reading the scriptures. And as I was reading, Jesus said that, he said, follow me. You know, go back. I keep going back to that because he said, follow me. And he also said, my sheep hear my voice. And, you know, we got to stop moving and all of that. And I had to, because I couldn't do anything. Nothing was going anywhere. He said, my sheep hear my voice. I know them and they follow me. And I go, but God, I don't see anything to follow. What in the world am I going to do? And then I read what Jesus said. He said, I don't do anything on my own. He said, I watch what the Father's doing around me. You know, so that being still, first of all, to hear him saying, you know what, my sheep hear my voice. That shouldn't be abnormal for us. That should be normal. The following him should be normal. Then the part of being just stopping. You know, when we're in a situation where we stop and we go, we watch to see what God's doing in someone's life, what he's doing around them. And so again, as part of that journey and part of that you know, that whole walking with him, right? And it doesn't look, as in our last one, it doesn't look like that straightforward path, and that's what we want. You know, I thought when I went to Wembley that, you know, a straightforward path, and, you know, we'd be with Jesus, walking with Jesus, he's building his church, and, you know, there's instant growth. But it's not that.
I see that even in business. That 10 years into this, a few different businesses that I thought we were going to be at the stage we're at. I thought we were going to be way past the stage we're at 8 years ago. And we're not there, but that's okay. It's a matter of, okay, God, where are you taking us through this?
And trusting him in the midst of that.
And trusting him.
You know, truth be told, right? We got to trust him in the midst of when it doesn't look like that.
Exactly. Well, thank you for joining us today on Truth Be Told, and we'll see you in the next one. God bless.